GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship. It's about to kick off. The Podium Sprint, the final session of the weekend for those in the top 5 of their category. This is where we set our finishing order, Greg. This is the finale of our first round of this new format.
And this new format has already proven incredibly exciting, focusing in each of the qualifying session on who's in that top 5, who's trying to get in that top 5, and focusing on it. This is when it all comes good because the top 5 competitors get to go out on track. The Sunday Cup will run it a little differently, but all of the other classes, one car at a time, 2 flying laps, fast time. If you're in the top 3, you have had a successful podium sprint, and you will get those points and the like. A track record stands from any session, and the points that go with that. But this puts such a focus on this final round, the podium sprint. Brilliant, successful already.
This coverage this weekend has been powered by Hyundai N. Hyundai N, never just drive, and Falcon, the official tire of GRIDLIFE Track Battle. So this is our weekend setting session in this one, our top 5 from each class. Again, Hyundai N, never just drive, and Falcon, the official tire of GRIDLIFE Track Battle. The way that this is going to work for Sunday Cup, which is the first group out, all 5 of our qualifiers will go out together, and then each lap, the slowest car is going to get black flagged, and then they're going to go off the racetrack. So the last driver standing for Sunday Cup is going to be your winner here this weekend. All the other classes are going to go out one at a time. They're each going to get 2 flying laps. They're going to be staggered by a lap, though, so we can get them through relatively quickly, but 35 competitors fighting for 7 different class trophies here this afternoon.
You know, with all apologies to Formula One, what's going to happen in Sunday Cup here is true live knockout qualifying, because it happens while the session's unfolding, and I think that is absolutely brilliant, and it gives you the opportunity, obviously, to watch things as they unfold. When we get into the other groups, it's going to be good just to have that one car out there, focus on that car, see what happens. Variety's great, and we've got it here.
And why knockout qualify? Why knockout competition?
Absolutely.
The Sunday Cup guys, they're very competitive, but they also like to have some fun. And we had a little bit of flexibility when we were deciding this format, and we posed the question, would people like this? Would this be enjoyable to do a knockout-style format? And almost everyone was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So that's why we're giving this a try. And I think the potential to bring that to other classes is there in the future as well. But the goal for the other drivers is just be the fastest in your category. That's still true in Sunday Cup, but the way it's happening is a little bit different. So the cars are rolling now, but before they get up to speed, let's go through our Hyundai N track preview one final time here for the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship. Show you the 14 corners and 2.3 miles around here, Greg, with the Hyundai N track preview. In the Sunday Cup cars, the name of the game is slipstream and being on top of the cornering. Carry momentum.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with these, by design, slightly underpowered cars. You just want to flow speed, so you don't want to over-brake into the tight turn 1. You've got to exit that and be able to get through 2 and 3, just 2 little flicks. 3's a little tighter than a flick, and get through that very cleanly, because then you come up into turn 4. In this section, you turn in early there into 4, straight line to the apex in 5, and then in these cars, you're just going to be feeding it throttle all the way through. You don't want to make any mistakes in this class that robs you of momentum.
You got to carry the speed. Turns 8 and 9, you're on throttle, and you're going to be on throttle for a long time in a Falcon Sunday Cup car. Then off into turn number 10. Very easy flat out in these cars. On the binders into turn number 11. Not for long, though. You're not going that fast by the end of the straightaway. 12 and 13 back on power, and then into turn 14 and coming back to the stripe. The drivers will get 2 flying laps, and then again, we're going to black flag the slowest each lap after that. So if you run a fast lap at the beginning, you might be okay, but you're not going to know in relation to those other 5. You just got to keep going and going. Also, if the drivers are not absolutely sure that they were the one that was black flagged, they were instructed to keep going just in case, so you don't accidentally pull off.
Yeah, I was going to say that. If you're drafting somebody down that front straight and you get a black flag, that other person thinks, was it for me? If you're not sure, keep going. They'll work it out. But these cars, the difference between these cars and a lot of the other cars that are, have been running here in these other classes in the NOS Energy Track Battle Championship are these cars will be on the throttle well before the apex. You get that car turned, especially the fits, the front drive, you turn it and you're on the throttle as early as you can to try and keep that momentum alive and accelerate as much as you can through the corner, as opposed to with some of the higher horsepower cars, you're trail braking into the turn and then accelerating out, you get that throttle pickup a little bit later. Just little things to watch for there. And generally, the Sunday Cup is incredibly close. We've seen that in our top 5 that have made it here to the Podium Sprint already.
And as far as our gridding process for this one, Falcon Sunday Cup is also a little bit different. The fastest car is going to be leading the way. It'll be Lucas Urban in the 369. The other classes will go slowest to fastest on their way out in terms of their qualifying pace. So Lucas Urban, Michael Ross-Smith, Jacob Abbott, Chris Rice, and Ryan Mukherjee will be the top 5 competitors. So not everyone here, we call this the Podium Sprint, but not all of them are going to be on the podium.
Right. But it is the sprint, the run to the podium, and that's what's going to make this really exciting. And this is the only one of the other, all the classes we have here, that's everybody in the pool for this qualifying session. It's going to be really fun to watch. And everybody in this category has been chasing that Escort ZX2 of Lucas Urban. You talked about it, the 369. He had a 157.3, but behind him, there's a little gap, but then it is incredibly snug. And here's the thing. In this category, you make one mistake, you've only going to have a couple other laps to maybe be able to rectify it. And if you make a big mistake early, you probably going to be the first guy to get that black flag.
So again, those 5 Sunday Cup cars are going to be the first drivers on track. It looks like the Club TR cars are getting set up in the hot pit as well. But we're waiting for the group of 5 to come back around to the green flag. And once we go green, 1 lap, next lap, start black flagging the slowest.
It's going to be fun to see how this one plays out. And I'll tell you, Michael Ross-Smith, the number 395, it's basically 4 Honda Fits chasing the Escort ZX2. And Michael Ross-Smith, he has been really, really good here this weekend, generally at the top of the fit contingent. But as you can see, everybody just chasing Lucas a little bit. And Lucas, they're waving all of them by.
Yeah, so again, I don't think we've yet taken the green flag, but the 126 of Jacob Abbott's going to take the top spot here. Again, this is not a race. This is a timed competition, but there is a little bit of strategy as to where you are. Lucas Urban was gridded first. He had to go out front, but once you're on the racetrack, you can change positions around, but the goal is to be the fastest at the end of this elimination-style format. Right behind is the 395 of Michael Ross-Smith, and then the rest of the group in behind. I wonder if Lucas Urban might have a problem. Or he might be getting some clear racetrack. That might be his strategy that he's going for. He is back there in his own area here. So, green flag for the Falcon Sunday Cup category this time through, and again, each lap, we're going to start knocking people out after they get a couple of flyers here. Here they come down into turn number 1, Greg, for the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship, separated by about 10 car lengths here into the first corner. And next time by, we're going to start seeing lap times go up on the timing and scoring, and this is where it's going to get fun.
And you wonder if these fit drivers have had a little bit of a chat together going, look, let's go out with a gap between us, see who can do what. Then if somebody's struggling, give them a tow. Let them come up and draft off you just a little bit. And I think Urban may have said, look, I've been topping the charts this entire weekend. I don't want to give them any help. I'll let them go off by themselves.
Yeah, but one thing that it is true right now is we haven't seen him come across the strike for timing and scoring. So if that's true, here's a couple things. So if you do not make it to, or if you have a mechanical and don't go out on the racetrack, then the next person would be bumped up into the podium sprint. But Lucas Urban went out on the racetrack, so the worst he can do is 5th.
Right.
So even if he doesn't get a lap, he will be P5 here in the weekend. But obviously, with how fast he's been, that would be a bit of a bummer, Greg.
Oh, it would be tragic because he has been so quick. And we'll have to keep an eye on things and see if he's just backed way off or if he's ducked into the pits. And he can do that. He can pull into the pits, because this goes for a few laps. So if he had a little issue, he can certainly, I think, by rule, he can pop in and change the tire pressure or something like that.
Not for very long, though, because remember, after 2 laps, we eliminate. So he might be able to get it back out there in time, but so far, not so good for Lucas Urban. So the 126 of Jacob Abbott works his way through turns 12 and 13. We're going to get times this time by, Greg, and again, the next time by we'll start eliminating. We'll see how it goes. One has already technically been eliminated, as if Lucas Urban can't get back on track basically now. It's a really, really good point. You can see the car in second there, and I think that might be Michael Ross-Smith.
Yep. He's now pulled up just a little bit. And look at that. He's really rolled some speed through there, and he's looking to get a little pull down here because it's going to start his second flyer, and he's going to get a little bit of a tow off of Jacob Abbott. Let's see what these first times pop up as.
Cross the stripe. 2-minute 1:59. Michael Ross Smith to the top of the board. A 1:59.409. Chris Rice. Mukherjee jumps up to second place. He was the slowest of the qualifiers, but now P2 right now as it stands. Rice in fourth place. He's a 10th off of Jake Abbott. So this is going to get really interesting. There's only 0.4 of a second from second down to fourth, Greg.
Incredibly close, and it's going to be painful for these. Not just for the drivers, but for us, because they're all driving so well in these cars. To see one of them get black flagged off the track right now, that would be the 91 of Chris Rice at this point. And as you said, he's only a 10th off of Abbott and the podium. It's so close.
It is. This is going to be so. This is why this format is so exciting, Greg. I can't believe how tight this is going to be. A 10th of a second is a blink of an eye, and around a 14-turn track, you blink an eye 14 times, that's 1.4 seconds.
Yeah.
And right now we're dealing with 0.4 of a second. Here they come up the back straightaway now. Michael Ross Smith leads the way, and it looks like the Abbott car is tucked in behind, maybe to get that slipstream here. He's safe for at least a lap, how he is right now.
Yeah, and right now I see Rice tucked up behind Mukherjee, I think, as well. And so they're trying to do a little bit of drafting right now. Ooh, a little bit of a wide run there. That could slow them both up. That could be problematic, as that was Ross Smith just running a little.
Nose to tail here. This is how these guys like to party regardless. Doesn't matter what format we do, they'll be nose to tail no matter what. But the 395 giving a point by now.
Yep.
He seems like he's content at the moment with his 1:59.409. Abbott goes by. He is the third driver of the 5 that have gone. Lucas Urban is going to be eliminated, though, by the way. This is the completion of our second lap, so he is out. Chris Rice would be the next driver to get black flagged and sent off the racetrack and eliminated. Here they come across the stripe. Will anybody improve this time round? Across the stripe, no improvements this time by.
I thought Rice might move up just a little bit. He was tucked right in there and thought he might get a nice little tow here, but it just wasn't to be. And I think Ross Smith may have waved Abbott through because he knew he ran wide there and he might be holding Abbott up. And, these guys are fierce competitors, but they're fair competitors, and they're friends. And you have a little mistake like that, you want to try and avoid holding up a buddy of yours, even though you want to beat him.
So next time by, Rice is the man out. Jacob Abbott, Mukherjee, Ross Smith. That's fourth, third, second, and first as it stands. But Ross Smith waving by the 126, maybe setting up for another flyer. Again, these drivers have no idea where they are in this list right now. They're not going to know until they make it, until they find that there's no one in their mirror, no one out their windshield, and their last driver on the racetrack.
Absolutely, and looking back here at turn 9, they will come into view. And again, with the winds that we're having out there, you get a tow into a headwind. That is a huge benefit, and we'll see if in this case it pays off. But it's absolutely contingent on the driver in front of you not making a mistake and getting through all of these corners with nice pace so that you could just keep pulling along with them, and that looked really, really tighty. This is the group that's going to be of interest here.
Well, we saw the black flag there, but it's hard to tell from our angle for which car.
Yep.
And there's a car slowing, so as they come back around to the stripe, we'll see which one drops off. But again, the Lucas Urban 269 Ford Escort, and it never took the green flag, so he was the first driver out. They come out of turn 13 now, back to turn 14, and let's see where things stand here. Abbott, final corner, turns in, throttles up, all 98 to 105 wheel horsepower, coming back to the stripe. And there is the turn signal on for, is that Ross Smith?
I think that was Ross Smith, though. I mean, he's top of the order, but he's ducked into the pits.
And into turn 1, Abbott up to second place, past Mukherjee in the 144. So Abbott up to P2, Mukherjee P3, then Rice P4.
These guys really trying to work together here, but you can see those different lines through the corner, and that little bit of an overshoot, and that will scrub just that little bit of momentum in these cars. And it's so crucial, Kyle. You've got to keep that pace up, and you just get that little bit of a sideways moment or an overrun where you've got to breathe out of it to get the front to bite. That eats up time.
So Ross Smith in the 395 at a 1:59.409 over Abbott's 1:59.856. Mukherjee and Rice 3 and 4. And now we're down to just 3 out there on the racetrack, Greg. The numbers fall.
Yep, it starts dripping off here, and we'll see what is about to happen here. But we got 2 drivers now in the 159s. So, it's pretty tighty. And now we'll see, does this draft battle at the back, there comes the black flag. And that would be at this stage, for the 91 of Rice, Chris Rice.
That would knock him out.
Yep.
The 126 of Abbott still rolling, trying to see what he can do in the final moments here of this Sunday Cup podium sprint.
Because at this point, it's not just staying in here. You want to be the last man standing at the end. That would be the win on the weekend. So Abbott right now is less than, he's about 4/10 off of Ross Smith. That's not insurmountable in this track.
Certainly not. And can he just eclipse him one spot better? Final corner once more. Throttles up. Does he use all the road on the exit? He does not. Doesn't get up onto the rumbles. And here comes the next driver into the pit lane. And that will be, well, he looks like he's going to keep on going. They were told that they weren't sure. And Abbott! A 159.340 to the top of the board that time through.
And Ross Smith ducked into the pits, remember. So is he going to try and come out, or has he just said, nope, I can't do any better than that? And Abbott found something, and he did it, and he was being pretty respectful of the curbs. That tells me he drove a very smooth lap, did not lose any momentum in anywhere of consequence.
So Abbott in the 126 is the driver on the top of the board now by a 1/10 of a second. We knew coming in that Sunday Cup was going to be close, Greg. I don't think we expected it to be quite this close.
Yeah, this has just been brilliant. And that Dillon that has appeared there, that's just a little glitch in the scoring. That this is a brand new program. The whole situation is new. And that will be obviously taken care of.
I think because the way they leave false grid, Greg, they pass the timing loop there, so that's why he passed up. But again, he's not in this competition, so
at all.
Intended behavior. But just because of the way the track's laid out, that's how that happened. And as we come down through turn number 10, the 126 leads the way. There's the black flag for the next driver.
It should be Mukherjee, yeah.
And that would leave Abbott as the last man standing here in Sunday Cup, Greg.
Yeah, with Ross already in pit lane. That would be Abbott who would be able to get this one here.
And that last driver there, that is Mukherjee, who is in the 144. But again, Ross Smith peeled off. So again, where do you peel off doesn't matter. It's just the times that matter. So it's Abbott, Ross Smith, Mukherjee, and Rice. And then Lucas Urban, who never took the green flag here in the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint for our Sunday Cup group. And Mukherjee eliminated in third place in this one, Greg.
Yep, so it's still on the podium. So congratulations. I mean, there were a lot more entries than just these 5. And so he'll be on the podium. But I'm wondering, did Ross Smith ever come back out? Or is it now essentially just Abbott
out there? I think it's just Abbott. He got the checkers. So Jacob Abbott is your winner of the podium sprint in Falcon Sunday Cup. And that is a newer generation Honda Fit as well. They have to carry a little bit of ballast to be legal here, and he has done an exceptional job driving that car to the point by a 1/10 of a second over the 395. Mukherjee third. Your podium is Abbott, Ross Smith, and Mukherjee.
Yeah, absolutely great run by Abbott, having found it on that one lap. He just drove an incredibly clean lap, and it paid off for him to the tune of not much. I mean, less than a 1/10. Getting that win here. So well done for Abbott, really, who came in this, remember, he was third after the 3 qualifying sessions. So he found it when it counted.
So that means that next up is going to be our Falcon Club TR category in this GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship Podium Sprint. And we're going to this is a slightly different style now. This is one at a time, but they're going to be staggered. It'll be first up. The slowest qualifier was Trip Walker in the 186 car with a 149.469 in his Scion FRS. Then it's the Dead Boys Racing Team, the 880 FRS with a 148.817. Ben Carter in the 611 S2000. And here goes Trip Walker accelerating out for his outlap in this one, Greg.
Yep, driving that FRS. His lap earlier was a 149.469. It was a little bit off of the guys at the sharp end, but this is his opportunity to shine. And he's heading down into that 4, 5, 6, 7 area of the track. We do want to let you know that we've had tremendous coverage in that section of the track with the drones, but we had a storm blow through here if you weren't with us earlier. And since it's come through we have honking winds out here, and it's at a point where it is not safe to fly the drone. So sorry about that, but hey, it happens. Weather happens, as they say.
It sure does. So Trip Walker, while he's warming up, again, we're going to stagger these, so the next time he comes back around, the next car will roll. That will be the Dead Boys team, the 880 FRS, followed by Ben Carter in his S2000, Kevin Vu in an Integra, and then Mario Moroni, who is your top seed, with a 145 718 in his Honda Civic. So here's Trip Walker working his way down in his FRS. And we talked a lot about this chassis and what it's capable of, but Trip certainly has taken it to the limit a handful of times. And he is entering this final complex here and getting set up for his flying lap around Carolina Motorsports Park.
Yeah, this is his out lap. So by the end of this one, you want to have those tires as scrubbed and warm as you possibly can. You want to have those brakes ready. And you want to be ready to really launch one here. And let's see, I'm curious here when they get to 14 if they're going to open up their turn-in just a little bit, not drive the normal racing line through here and try and square it to get to the throttle a little bit sooner. He did a bit there, and you can see he was giving it the boot. That back end was starting to come around.
Here he comes. Here comes Trip Walker. Green flag for the number 186 Scion FRS in Falcon Club TR. Off into turn one. Here he comes down the front straightaway, down a gear, and into the first corner.
Critical to get through here well. Don't run too wide. Did a little bit there, but was able to get that rotated beautifully, wasn't he, to kick around turn two, and has a nice line up through three.
Right out to the edge, onto the rumble strips at the exit of turn three, and now he'll run up towards turn four, disappear into the woods towards 5, 6, and 7, and when he pops out, Greg, he'll be accelerating up through fourth into fifth gear, topping out over 110, 115 miles an hour, maybe 120 until he hits the brakes into that final corner. We hear the Dead Boys FRS rolling past us as well with that stagger. There he is, so he's getting up to speed while Trip is working his way around in one of his 2 flying laps.
That's right. Everybody gets 2 flying laps here. So out on track right now, that's the Dead Boys, number 880, another of the FRS cars that are proving to be really very effective in this category, in this Club TR category. Everybody here also running on the Falcon tire, so there's no real tire advantage here. It really comes down to the car prep and the driver.
Here comes Trip Walker through turn 10 at speed, nips the curb on the inside, and now points the nose towards 11 on the brake. See the front dive into the corner, shifting all the weight forward. Misses the apex at turn number 11. That's critical, Greg.
Yeah, one, it's going to be a slower exit out of the turn, and 2, he ran a longer line through there, and each of those components eats up time. And so, but he gets another shot at it, and so what he knows now is, okay, I can't go in quite as deep there, and you've got to bank all that stuff in your head and lock it in, so on this second lap, you can run one really mistake-free. So it's nice.
Wide at 11 there, too, or 14.
Yeah, he's pushing hard, that's for sure.
He'll get one more lap here in the NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint, so let's see what he does for a lap time. At 1:51.052, as far as where he qualified, it was 2 seconds quicker than that. The track might be a hair slower, so we'll see where the 8.
Oh,
up and a spin! Trip Walker off and grinds to a halt off in the runoff at the exit of turn number 1 and 2.
Yep, he just got, he's got that interesting line through 1, and then he really pivots the car in 2, and this time it snuck away from him and just rotated around and took him off to the outside. Fortunately, he didn't get into any of the barriers over there. The car came to a stop, so we have a full course, or a caution right now on the track, so the Dead Boys car was just starting his fast lap, but it was just a corner, a stationary yellow for that corner, so I think he can still be getting after it here.
Yeah, he should be just fine to carry on. Good that Trip got it rolled down before it went too much further. But he was getting after it. He was really going for it there, but a 151 is all he's going to get in this Track Battle Podium Sprint. The Dead Boys car heads up to turns 4, 5, and 6. Got the drone back up in the sky, watching him head on through it here, Greg.
Yep, and it's a balancing act up through there, through that 5, 6, 7. It's a triple apex right-hander we talked about, and you got to be patient, wait for turn 7. Don't turn in too early. Don't try and get to the apex in 6, because then you're going to be slow out of 7. And then down this long back chute and into that turn 8. And it is a deceptively tight corner. You've got to get out of it well, because this is a long, fast run into 11.
And then we see Trip kind of overdrove turn 11 last time. Will the 880 make the same mistake? Off into turn number 11 on the brakes in his FRS. ASM on the side of this car. That's a familiar name we've seen across the GRIDLIFE series here. Nicely done, though, up on the curbs at 11.
Looked really good. Yeah, ASM, we know they prep a very fast, competitive car. And so the driver knows I don't have to worry about the car. I just have to get after it. Nice line there through the exit of turn number 12. Little bit tight coming through 13. You want to flow that even a little bit more here. We'll see the faster, heavier cars do that. Now, here's the turn in and on to the front straight. Boy, he could have used a lot more of the exit down there as well. But let's see what kind of time this 880, the FRS, puts up. And where it relates to Walker here.
Top of the board, 149.424 for the Dead Boys car. And that was a hair slower than his lap that qualified him in. But will it be enough to take home that Falcon Club TR victory here this weekend? There's the next car on track. That is Ben Carter in the 611. This car used to be in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup with Todd Cayley, but he's warming up now as the Dead Boys machine continues to work around in his second flying lap.
And this car, the S2000, is one of the top cars in the GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. And you talked about it. It's fast there. It's proving in his hands here to be really, really good in the Club TR category as well. So we'll see what he's able to do. And look at that nice, long, wide arc up on that outside cushion through there. That's how you want to run that corner. And it's going to be interesting to see here what Benjamin Carter can do as he's coming around. This is to start his flyer, I believe.
Yes, it will be. So out of the final corner, he's getting himself set up. In the background, we see the 880, I believe, entering turn number 11. So he is coming to complete his second flying lap. He could improve. He could not. We'll see where it stands as the next car, the 611, enters turn 1. Off the apex just a touch there, but a clean line.
Really nice, and you see how he didn't have to try and flick that car and scrub anything as he floated into 2, which gave him a straight line up to the apex of 3. That's really how you want to drive turn 1. You give up the exit a little bit so that you can get through 2 and 3 really well, turn in early to 4, and now, as I said, you clip that apex, and here don't get to the apex in 6, and he doesn't. He gives it room, patience. Now, a little wide there, but still able to get to the throttle, and he's got some nice speed out of there.
And across the stripe for the Dead Boys car, I don't know if he improved. He did improve. Wow. A 149.141 for the 880, and he brings that top time a little bit closer to the fastest time we've seen, which is Mara Maroney's 145.718. But here comes that 611 of Carter on his flyer down towards turn number 10.
And looking really stout here. Let's watch him through turn 10. Again, this wind is really gusty, and you turn in and you get a gust at the wrong time. It can get your attention. It looked like he was giving himself a little leeway to the outside of the track on the exit just in that instance. And you can see just wrap those tires right around that lower edge of the curb. Nicely done. And now here it is. He showed a great line through here previously. Look at that, up on that cushion, really letting it go. And as you do that, you're unwinding the steering wheel. So what can you do? Just keep feeding power.
Down into turn 14 for Ben Carter's first flying lap. He'll get one more. All the while, Kevin Vu in the number 18 Acura Integra is up, getting up to speed. Here comes a 611 of Ben Carter across the line. Will he jump to the top, or will he have room to work across the stripe? Ben Carter in the 611, 151.455. It was slowest of the 3 that have gone.
Yeah, so he's got work to do. And he's being very generous on the exits of a lot of the turns, and he's going to want to open that up just a little bit and use more of the track and do it with a little bit more pace. As we take a peek here at Kevin Vu, that Acura Integra, I mean, he turned a 145.8 earlier, so this is a guy who's got a real shot of ending on the top of the podium here in Podium Sprint.
Into turn 1 for the number 18, a front-wheel drive car this time. The first that we've seen. The other 2 were FRSs and S2000s. This is the only, or the one of 2 front-wheel drive cars here in this Podium Sprint. Took a big chunk of curb and a little on the exit, leaving turn 3.
Yeah, he's pushing and pushing immediately, knows the urgency here, turns in, and now doing that balancing act as he gets up into this section of track. And watch for it here. Remember, we watched Carter running a little wide here. Look at that, right to the apex late there, which is how you want to do it. You want a late apex, so you're giving it throttle early. You don't want to turn in early and then have to wait to go to throttle. Looking pretty solid right here, at least at this stage for Kevin Vu.
Into turn number 8. And leaving that corner, he will now head to 9 and 10, the two right-hand sweepers. In the foreground, you see the 6'11", who is coming back around to complete his second flying lap. And he was quicker than Walker and the Dead Boys car, I believe, in the qualifying session. So it wouldn't be surprising to see him jump up. But look at this 18 now on his flyer into turn number 11.
Oh, wide, really overshot that. He had a really good lap going up until that moment. It looked really tighty, really fast.
Well, let's see what he can do as Carter comes back around to the front straightaway to see if he can improve on lap number 2. Across the stripe, bumps Walker down to third, Carter to second in Club TR. Here comes the 18 now into the final corner.
Yeah, he found a great lap there and jumped up by a significant chunk right now. He's about 6/10 clear of Carter at this stage. Of a Walker at this stage.
Here comes Vu across the stripe. Where will he stand? Will he knock everybody down one, or will he find himself somewhere in the middle? This time through a 47.565, the 18 to the top of the board.
Absolutely superb lap. And there is a look at Mario Moroni. This car has been so fast. I mean, look at how well that's turned out.
Whoa, that's a little wide in turn 14. That's going to hurt his setup for his first lap, Greg. Critical, you only get 2.
Yeah, and he ran just wide enough. I saw a little splash. There's still water down in the gator teeth of those curbs. So at least for this first turn, it was on the unloaded tire. But now he understands you got to really get that thing turned a little bit better. And, he may be using, as, we've talked about it, this first lap to say, okay, what is the limit? If I overshoot it, I'm okay with that because then I know what it is. And I could back up just a little bit and then throw in a really smooth one here. But if we keep seeing improvements here from Vu, it could be big pressure time for Moroni.
Certainly could. Moroni works his way through turns 6 and 7 and now sets its sights on turn 8. All the while, the 18 Integra continues to work his way around towards that final sector, Greg, and he's still on his flying lap. He still could go quicker.
He absolutely could, and I think he had more left to be able to do that exactly here. So as we're keeping an eye on here, working through the exit of turn 9. Here's Marco Moroni.
And here he comes into turn 10 now. Gonna tip it in. Here he comes. Into turn 11. Dive on the brakes here.
This has been a crucial corner. Easy to overshoot here. Oh, and he gets a big slide at turn in. Kept it to the apex, but the back end rotated around a little bit. That will eat up a little bit of time, but it's better than running way wide. Meanwhile, what a lap by Vu. Drops into the a 46.7. Fabulous lap by Vu.
Here comes Moroni now down towards turn 14. Time to beat 146.726. Final turn, throttles up. It's been a little bit rough around the edges, Greg, but is it fast enough? He ran much quicker earlier in the day, a 145.7, a full second clear, but it was with a slightly better track condition. Across the stripe for Mario Moroni. If he goes to the top, he's going to win a 146.370. Mario Moroni to the top of the board in Falcon Club TR.
He's got it already, and it wasn't a really tidy lap. And let's see if he smooths it out here. If he does, he could be down into the 45s once again, which is where he ran earlier. He has some serious speed in that car. He wheels it incredibly well. And if he tidies that lap up, we could see a really sparkling time here.
He's still got another lap left to go. He could go faster. He's already got that top spot here, Greg. He doesn't know that right now.
Exactly. All he knows is I've got one more lap. I've got to lay it down here. And believe me, he knows that first lap wasn't particularly tidy. And so he will be paying very, very close attention to that. And there's a look at Vu. He's off throttle now, just completing his cool down lap.
So he's working his way around. Here comes Moroni into the shot, going after it. He's got it clear by 0.4 of a second. Without knowing, you got to give it your all. Messi down here at 11 last time on the binders, down through the gears once more for this 727 Honda Civic. Oh, big lockup with the left front, but got it slowed down.
Yeah, and you saw the back lockup just a little bit. This time it didn't rotate around, and as you're going sideways, that's going to take speed away. And that time, as he turned in, everything unlocked for him. So I don't think that hurt him very much, if at all. Here he flows it up on that cushion. It's all down to this last turn where he struggled on his outlap, but the second lap he got it pretty well. See if he gets it again here.
Whoa.
Right to the edge. A lot of push there.
Did you see the tires were just turned to the right and skidding across the surface? Mario Moroni, he doesn't know it, but he didn't even need to go faster. But will he regardless? A 146. Yes,
Oh,
he does.
what a lap.
A 145.602. Not only was it the fastest of this session, it was the fastest in Club TR all weekend. He sets a new Falcon Club TR track record and will win Sunday Cup here this weekend at CMP.
Yeah, just an absolutely remarkable run for him. Really getting every available point, essentially. So not too shabby.
Next up is our street category. From slowest to fastest, here comes Tom Halka. His qualifying time was a 1:45.906. And he's going to be the first up in the street class cars. This is a really pretty Turn-In Concepts livery, and he's going to put it to the test here across the start-finish line to start his flying lap in this number 7 Subaru.
Yeah, he was a bit off of the time of Josh Halka, but this is a whole different session. This is an opportunity. A lot of rotation there in one.
You don't see this, Greg.
No.
Before, with the old format, you never got to watch these drivers absolutely hanging it out because we could only watch one car at a time.
Exactly.
Now there only is one car at a time to watch, and we can watch every moment of them slipping and sliding and digging, trying to find every ounce of speed they can find into 5, 6, and 7. And he throttles up now. And he could be a surprise. He's a half second off Nish Patel in the number 350, Nissan 350, but he could get there. He found a lot of time in Q2.
He did. And, now he knows turn one, it was a little bit of an overshoot, and you've got to be a little bit smoother there. You don't want to exit as far out as he did. It really comes down to that. He knew that, so he kept the angle, input into the steering wheel, and that's why it snapped on him. Now he knows, give it up. There's a saying in motorsports, slow in, fast out sometimes. And if you overcharge a corner, it'll bite you like that. So now he knows, okay, here's what I have to do in one, and he's learning on every one of these corners. Here's turn 11. Again, up on the curb, you can see the car bouncing a little bit, but now he knows, all right, how can I approach that corner and improve it a little bit? And we've seen these second laps have been the ones here.
Lap 2, you're right. They've really been the lap to watch. And that might not be true when we get to Street Mod and Limited and things of the sort, but sometimes these drivers need a lap to warm up. Imagine if we didn't give them the second lap, Greg. They would never really see that full potential.
Yep.
So final corner for the number 7 on the first of his 2 flying laps, Tom Halka. He qualified at a 1:45.906. What will lap 1 hold for the number 7 Subaru across the stripe? And this time through, it is a 1:48.216. Drops him in place in first in class. But the next car on track, Nish Patel, here he is in the 350Z.
And love the sound of these cars, always have. And Nish really drives it well. And he's coming around to pick up his first green flag for his 2 flyers.
Last corner, slip and slide. Get the power down, though. Rear-wheel drive in this car versus the all-wheel drive in the Subaru. And the VQ engine, the V6 under the hood, screaming down the front straightaway. Down a gear into turn 1. How aggressive will he be through the first sector? Left a little bit on exit there, Greg.
Little bit, but it gave him a really easy turn into 2, didn't it? So he wants to now just find that balance point. What's catching my eye is both he and Tom Halka at 14 leaving a lot of room on the exit there. Yeah, you don't want to run over that and get that moisture from the that's buried in the curbs up on your tires. But when you're 4 or 5 feet off of that, you're giving up just too much usable track there. You've got to use every piece here if you want to be on the podium in Podium Sprint.
Patel works his way down towards turn number 8 now in his 350Z. Richard Cho is on track now in his 370Z, so he's warming up and getting set. Meanwhile, Tom Halka working his way around back towards the start-finish line. Again, he is on his 2nd flying lap. He can improve. We'll see if he does it this time by.
As we're keeping our eye on right now, Nishan Patel. We'll see what. Patel really clouding the curb over there in the kink. Didn't look like it upset things too much. Let's see if he does. Oh, very tighty there, and then he got a little rotation on the exit. And using that curb will kick that around a little bit. And I hate to say it again, but you know what? that scrubs some speed.
Tom Halka, 147, 377. He upped it a little bit, found a little time. So where does Patel end on lap number 1? Right out to the edge of the road. That was very dicey as the track kind of comes back in from the runoff area into the final corner. The number 350, 350Z, big tank slapper in the final corner. Is it enough to be faster than Tom Halka? Here he comes.
He gets one, let's see what happens here. Obviously gets one more lap. And he can tidy that up just a little bit. He comes through, and it is by what, 7/10?
It's quicker.
Yeah.
146, 601. Whoa, there's Richard Cho getting set up, and he's warming up the tires very aggressively to try to get some heat in that 370Z.
Yep, get heat in those tires and try and scrub them if he thinks he picked up any debris or anything out there on track. And again, these tires, when they're hot, you get offline, you get where the marbles are, the little balls of rubber or any dirt or debris that's on the track. Those tires, they're like vacuum cleaners, and they just stick to it, and it takes a while to clean them up. So he's being very aggressive with that process here.
I'm curious how much that's really going to help. I predict a lot. Again, 2 laps, you're still kind of getting your tires warmed up. You see them skidding as he leaves turn 14. Up under pace now and past the start-finish line to take the first of 2 green flag laps. Down into turn 1 goes Richard Cho. Pops and crackles out of this VQ, and a little wide there at 1. Kicking the rear tires out. He is absolutely going for it right now.
He is, but he's hanging that back end out a lot, and it's exciting. It's fun to watch. It's not necessarily the quickest way to drive around, but again, this is his first real flyer here, and he's exploring those limits just a little bit. So watch him here. This is that you got to balance it really, really nicely here. And as you get into these faster cars, you're literally balancing it with the throttle. You can see that push. He pushed a little wide to the apex there, and I could hear he had to lift just a little bit. Each one of those little things eats away at your lap times.
Here comes the 350 car back to the start-finish line. This will be Patel's second lap. Will he improve on his 146.601? He might need to if he wants to win this category. It is not faster, lap 2, so his first lap will be as quick as we go back to Cho now, entering turn 10, sweeps through onto the binders for turn number 11.
This is going to be huge. This corner is the one that can catch you out. Oh, did he nail that? Used it, got those front tires, and then it just tracked up on those curbs a little bit. That gets a little bit more weight on those outside tires. Just really, really driving well here.
Oof.
Yeah, he's up on that cushion. He's looking like he's driving a flat track, isn't he?
He's giving it all he's got now. Yep. Turn 14. I'm really curious to see where this lands him. His qualifying time was a 45.1. It was 0.3 quicker than Patel, but with how much rear we've seen sliding around, I don't know if he's got the stick to get up on top of the board, but here he comes across the stripe for his first flying lap. Richard Cho, will it be fastest in class? Yes, it will. A 145.582, and that was the fastest lap of any lap in the Track Battle Podium Sprint session. And now he's got one more to go. Meanwhile,
here's the story.
Number 2 seed, Tony Barber in the Turn-In Concepts 333, a very different sound. Lack of sound.
Yeah, yes, the sounds of silence in this Tesla, and he topped one of the qualifying sessions earlier, and he and Josh Halka, for a while there, they were separated by just a couple of tenths. Halka got a great lap late in one of the sessions and opened up that margin just a little bit, but believe me, Tony Barber is a guy with a real shot at bringing this one home.
And he was actually, he rolls through turn number 1. He's at full charge now, full capacity in the battery. He's got all the power right up to the edge of the road. Used every inch of the racetrack at the exit of turn number 3. There couldn't have been a millimeter between the edge of that tire and the gravel trap.
Yeah, that, folks, that was true commitment, using every bit of the road, swinging out here. And remember, this car is really heavy because of the batteries, but it also has just boatloads of sheer torque. So he's got to adjust if he's used to driving a petrol car. It's a little bit different driving style, but he's been driving it for a while. He's got it figured out, and, man, he is using every piece of that racetrack.
Into turn 8 now, and, again, this is his first of 2 flying laps, and as he comes up out of 9 and into 10, one of the other things about these Teslas, maybe not here so much, but they do run out at top end. They don't necessarily, whoa, big slide there by Cho as he's bringing his car back around. This is the completion of his second flying lap. Will it be faster? 145.582. Yes.
Boom.
5:28 just by 200ths, while Tony Barber works his way through 12 and 13.
That's some consistency, isn't it?
I'll say.
Look at this. This car is just, and not a sound.
And it's gripped up. You can see it kind of squatting and leaning a little bit. A lot of weight to transfer, but it's controlled weight transfer in this Tesla Model 3. Final corner on his first lap. Barber right out to the edge. You see it wiggle and wobble. All-wheel drive system here by the nature of the motor layout. Across the stripe for Tony Barber. Will he go to the top of the board in street class past the timing loop? Yes, 141.064.
What a lap, a 41.064. And that's almost into the territory where he ran earlier here. And here he is, Josh Hulka in that Subaru WRX. He has been a missile this weekend, and now the pressure's on to back it up.
This is the top seed. This is the car that qualifying would tell you is the fastest in street class. Hulka's had a number of street class victories before, but I don't think he's going to have a shot to win one in any format like this before. So this is going to be the first time for everybody here into turn one for his Subaru Impreza STI, and over the curbs at one, all the road, all the curb.
Yeah, and actually he made that work because as he exited, he had enough of an arc that all he had to do was just give it that little flick. He didn't run so deep that he had to wrap around that whole curb. Now up into 4, a little bit late on his turn in there, but let's see what happens and watch him through this section. And again, the key is there he is, nice and wide at 6. Now turn it down at 7. That was perfect, Kyle. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, he had that thing lined up and point and shoot now with the all-wheel drive, and whoop, was there a little bit of dust and debris off the 333 of Tony Barber? Was he off course potentially? And that would eliminate his opportunity to finish out the second lap faster. But was it not him? It might have been Cho actually who was working his way around. So here comes Barber now, turn 14. Maybe that was not him, and he's going to go quicker. Let's see.
Yeah, and let's hope that he didn't check up a little bit, wondering what was happening with Cho. And again, there's that commitment of, he realized I'm done.
Yep. So 141.064 is all he's going to have. Here comes the 777 of Josh Hulka into turns 12 and 13.
Be really intriguing to see. This is another all-wheel drive car. And look at that. Just that little bit where the back end just sort of just rotates very mildly, just at the right slip angle. And if you get that all-wheel drive car to do that, you can really hustle it through corners.
Whoa!
Using up all the road.
Slipping and sliding, had the rear end kicked out. Josh Hulka in the Sellers Subaru Impreza across the stripe. And yes, top of the board for Josh Hulka, 140.500. He's got it in street class, Greg.
And he doesn't know it. And he's got another lap. That's what's so fun about this. Because now, that essentially, he already has the track record at a 39.8. He doesn't know that he's won it now in terms of the podium. So he's going to give it everything he's got. And can he break his own track record? That would be pretty cool.
Well, it's definitely still windy and breezy at times here. Street GT is coming up next. But as you see the first Street GT car, that is going to be Connor Gallagher working up to speed here. Nissan GTR, very unique car in Street GT. While all this is happening, Hulka is working his way around. Doesn't need to do anything more. He could pit in this lap and have this GridLife NOS Energy Track Battle Championship round one won in street class.
He absolutely could. And, that's a great lap that he had. But his lap earlier, that 139, 826, only driver to have gone underneath a 140. And if he would be able to do something with that here, that would be impressive in the extreme. And we'll see if he's still on it here or if he's decided nope. And we missed a little bit of what his lap was. So if he had a little bobble somewhere,
he's still on it, I think.
He sure looks like it.
Turn 14.
Let's see what he does.
On the brakes here, tips it in. Powers down, get a little bit of rear kick. Oh, right off the road there, 4 off. Bring it back to the checkers. Might not be faster, but it was a little more spectacular.
It was spectacular indeed. He decided at the end, I'm doing track battle. Let's throw in a little rally.
Oh, it wasn't quicker, but a 140.5 is your street class winning time here this weekend. Josh Hulka and the Sellers Subaru Impreza, they get it done here in street class. That will shift our focus now to Street GT, and leading up this group is number 5 seed Connor Gallagher in this Nissan GTR. A 142.533 was his seed time in qualifying.
And this is one of the classes that from 1st to 5th in terms of those top 5, about the closest that we have seen here. They've been separated by about 2 seconds, that entire group. And we've had weather earlier. We've had all kinds of things unfolding. And so these guys are so close. Any one of them, I think, are capable of going to the top here.
And really fast through turn 1. Might have been off the apex just slightly as he heads up towards turns 4, 5, and 6 now in this Nissan GTR. We talked earlier about Godzilla, the car that has been pretty much one of the fastest cars you can get from a Japanese automaker for a very, very long time. And while perhaps the chassis is a bit long in the tooth now, it certainly doesn't mean it's not a capable car, especially in the Street GT category. There's Drew Vosk, our number 4 seed in Street GT in his Toyota GR Supra, so he will warm up while the number 2 heads down the back straightaway towards turns 8 and 9. Here he comes into view, and the speeds here north of 140, maybe 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, they are booking, and that makes this kink here a serious clinch-em-up corner here, and gets through it there on this outlap. And again, just sussing out, okay, what's the grip like? Can I go in a little bit deeper here? Nice line through there. And at every point you look and you go, okay, I could have carried it a little bit more speed through there, or nope, that's my limit. And this outlap, you got to push it a little bit because with only 2 flyers, you've got to get as much education as you can in a hurry.
Final corner for the number 2's first flying lap. Connor Gallagher, if the seating was correct, he'd be 5th in Street GT, but he's fighting for more across the stripe. Here he comes. His seed time, a 1:42.533. What's it going to be for Gallagher across the time? This time, it is a 1:44.791 for the number 2, so he'll want a little bit more than that.
Yeah, he's going to need a little bit more than that, certainly. And but again, that was his first lap, really pushing it here. And now here comes Drew Vosk, who his run was about a second quicker in qualifying than was Connor's, and so Drew, but he needs to find some time too to get a little bit closer to that pack.
Here comes the Vosk machine down into turn number 1, the 256 car, the Toyota GR Supra. A little wide there at turn 1. He had a big slip in I think it was Q1. He went off at turn 1, kicked out the rear here, but his time in qualifying was clear of Gallagher by a full second, so he should leapfrog the 2 here on his first lap. But the 2 is going to go, he's already still on his second lap. He could improve.
Absolutely. And, turn 1 has been a tricky one for an awful lot of people here that have just gone in and overshot, not just in this podium sprint session, but in some of the other sessions. It's a tricky corner, and you think I got to really flow some speed through here, but then you find yourself wide on the exit of it and struggling to get it wrapped around into turn 2. So, turn 1 is one of those, you have to exercise that element that's a bit of, I love this word, anathema to a race car driver, and that's patience,
Here comes Vosk into turn 10 at speed, tips in the GR Supra, gripping up nicely at speed, now onto the brakes into turn number 11. While Gallagher comes back to the stripe for the end of his second lap, what's it going to be for Gallagher? Will it be an improvement? Yes, a 1:43.726 for Gallagher, goes a little bit faster, but Vosk leaving turn 13, going to try to do one better.
Well, and I'll tell you what, the thing that really impressed me in this group, if you look at from Brandon Hodge, who was fastest, back to Drew Vosk, it was a second covering those 4 essentially, and a second's nothing. It's a lot, but it's a blink of an eye almost as well. And so one guy makes a mistake, the other guy puts in a really stellar lap. You just don't know. It's so close here.
Vosk, 1:43.812. He did not go faster than Gallagher. And this is where the turntables, Greg.
Exactly, and that is by a tenth, by 1/10 of a second. He was off of that time as the number 40 now makes its way out, Ben Bolthus, and that is one of the GR Supras. They have proven to be a pretty good car in this category, certainly for this track.
As far as the top 5 go here in this podium sprint, 3 of the 5 cars are GR Supras. Here comes Bolthus into turn 1. Looks very similar to Vosk, kind of wobbling on exit, but looks pretty composed after that into turns 2 and 3. Ooh, a lot of curb usage there. Used every inch of the concrete before peeling it back onto the asphalt.
And, you've got that curb. You don't want to be too far up on it because if you do have a little moment, then you drop off the outside. But you want to be using as much of that as you can, and he did. And he did a smart thing, too. He didn't try and get off of the curb too quick. He just straightened the wheel out, let it ride up and over it, and just kept the power down. And that's really, really critical.
And off into the trees towards turn number 8. And while Vosk rolls his way around, again, Vosk was seeded 4th. If he doesn't go faster, he's going to be 5th in this competition. Here he comes now through the backside of the track, turns 12 and 13. This is his last opportunity to get down a time and get himself up onto the podium.
Right to the outside edge of the track, man. He is giving it everything. He's giving that Supra its head here and letting it fly all down to this last corner. Not too bad. And coming back across here, checker flag is going to be out. Does he improve, Kyle?
Across the stripe for Vosk. 1:43.043, top of the board for Vosk in Street GT. Now it's up to both this and the number 40 to go even faster than those two here. If the 40 gets ahead of Vosk, he is on the podium no matter what.
Yep, so this is a big lap, couple of them. Little wiggle there. It's going to hurt his exit out of 14 as he starts his flyer. And you just don't want to have that car sliding through 14 when you're starting your flying lap because it just diminishes the launch just a little bit.
Top of the board.
Nice run for, even with that slip there, he went to the top.
1:42.829. That would put him on the podium, at worst 3rd. Next up on the racetrack while he works on his second flyer is Andy Volkel, the number 2 seed, a 1:40.764 in that C8 Corvette.
And this thing is pretty, both the graphics package and the car itself. And Andy has really been hustling that car around this weekend. Always in the top 2 in any of these sessions, Kyle.
Through turns 1 and 2 and into 3. Nicely composed. This chassis very well suited to getting faster and faster. I mean, the C8, when we went from C7 to C8, there was a lot of talk about going from front to mid-engine. The ceiling on the performance of this car is going to be so much higher than the C7, despite myself really liking the sound and the look of that front-engine rear-drive platform. The C8 really built for the racetrack, and we see that in IMSA with their C7 or C8R.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the driver was to change the layout of the Corvette, was that the old, beautiful front-engine rear-drive version of the car, its development had reached its peak. And they said, if we're going to keep racing in IMSA, and they ask a lot of the Corvette owners and the like at the Corvette clubs, if we want to keep beating these other cars, we've got to make the change. What do you think about it? And Corvette fans said, if that's what it takes, do it. And they did, and they have been very successful so far. Here comes Balthus on his last lap. See what he does.
Get after it here in the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship. Can Balthus go faster than he has?
Woo!
Yes, a 1:41.756, and that was about a half second off his best of the day. But we'll see if Volkel can go even faster in the C8 down here into turn 14.
The fact that a lot of these guys are a half second or so off of the times that they had best. Remember, they were out here, and there's been rain, and there's been other classes running, there's been drifting. It changes the track, and so the track may just be a little bit slower. It doesn't matter because they are working at the sharp end of things right now.
But Volkel, second quick, did not get ahead of Balthus on his first lap, as we've got now our top seed on track, Brandon Hodge in the number 89. This is going to get interesting. That's a big gap from Volkel to Balthus, half a second. Can the 40 potentially win this if Volkel and Hodge can't go quicker?
Yeah, and I mean, Hodge ran a 140.6. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can get up to that pace. Volkel earlier had a 140.7, but it wasn't this windy. We hadn't had all the rain. We hadn't had all of the drifting, which lays down rubber in a unique way down on the track. So it's going to be fascinating to see. And Balthus, that was a pretty solid lap for him, considering the conditions. As we watch Hodge now.
Ooh, we're a little wide there at turn
so
5, and we'll see if it hurts him. But Volkel, I mean, if he can't get ahead of the 40 on this next lap, then Volkel is not going to be able to win this. During the qualifying sessions, Volkel was the top-seeded driver until later in the day in Q2, when it was this number 89 that bested him in that second qualifying session this morning.
Yeah, those two have been swapping it back and forth, as we just saw Volkel flash through, and he's going to be completing his second flyer here. Here he comes.
Look at that thing. It's just on it right now. Raised up in the air under acceleration and then diving onto the brakes. Final corner for Volkel. Here he comes back to the stripe, Andy Volkel, can he win in Street GT? We might not know, but he needs to get ahead of Bolthus. Needs to be at a 147.756. Will he do it? No.
Oh.
A 142.068. He will be second at best in Street GT.
So now it is all down to Brandon Hodge in that GR Supra. That is one sharp-looking car in a lot of ways. I love the graphics package, but it's very, very quick. It's become a very popular car in a lot of racing series, and with the performance we're seeing, you can see why.
Hodge across the stripe.
Boom!
Top of the board, 140.983. Brandon Hodge gets it done in Street GT. And now, like we said before, he doesn't know it, but he's already won it.
He does, and that, in terms of where he ran in practice and the like, that was a pretty impressive lap, to be sure, as he's at that 140.9 in practice. He ran a 140.6, only 0.3 off, so he's finding it at the right time.
All right, final corner on the warm-up lap for the number 29. This is actually our next class, our street mod competitor, Kyle McHugh. He's going to take the green flag now and start his flying lap while Brandon Hodge comes back around to finish his second and final flyer. But as you see here in the podium sprint graphics, the top drivers of each category, they have already won. Kyle McHugh, though, is leading our street mod group, and we'll have track mod and unlimited, and that will end our podium sprint.
And, man, this has just been phenomenal. What a show these guys are putting on. Digging deep, they have 2 laps. It adds so much pressure, so much strategy, and in my mind, so much gratification when you end up on the podium. A little bit wide there, and you know, as you're wide of that apex, it means the exit comes up at you quicker, right? And you've got to make a little adjustment there. So that's something that he's dealing with. But we're still watching to see what Brandon Hodge does. Does he better a 140.983 on this last lap, as we're keeping an eye on McHugh right now? Here he comes.
Brandon Hodge across the stripe this time through. Will it go be faster? Will it? Yes, a 140.572. He put the cherry on top and sealed the packing tape and shipped that thing off to victory lane.
And broke his own track record.
And he'll pick up that extra point.
Bingo. That's huge.
Kyle McHugh now is on track in street mod, and this, again, is one of our, very close to the edge of the road. This is one of our faster categories. McHugh, Santos, Fortner, Amick, and Matthews coming up next here as they head down towards turn 14 into the final turn. Here comes the 29.
Yeah, when we say mod, we're serious. These cars are really tricked out.
So across the stripe for Kyle McHugh in the number 29, and across the stripe for the first time, a 139.739. It's the fastest lap we've seen so far, but of course he's the only one in street mod that's laid down a time thus far as well.
Exactly, and he had a 139.2, so that lap for a first flyer was really impressive. So we watch now, that's Jamie Santos right there, who was your 4th seed, the number 82, BMW i35i. That is pretty tricked out as well. Whoa, look at that.
Lighten up the tires. He can't find any grip. That will hurt him on the front straightaway just a little bit. He was only a 10th ahead of Kyle McHugh, so that could be the difference as Santos comes across the stripe to start his lap. For Kyle McHugh, he might be able to keep this BMW behind him with that slip and slide if Santos can't correct that on the second time around.
Yeah, that is, I mean, now he did that. He knows I can't be that aggressive on the throttle coming out of that last turn, and it's so crucial to start your lap with really good momentum. If you do something like that, you're behind the entire lap, and you've got to pull off.
Slip for McHugh. Sorry, Greg. Turn 11.
You got it.
Off wide, and that might mean that the 139 that he's got is all he's got as far as lap times here, and that would leave him vulnerable to Santos, Fortner, Amick, and Matthews going quicker in the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship Podium Sprint.
Yeah, that really is going to hurt him just a little bit here, and it's going to open that door up, as you said. But, man, his first lap was really impressive relative to where he had qualified in the 3 qualifying sessions.
So he comes across the line. It's not going to be an improvement, I don't believe. It will not be this time through. So McHugh does a 139.739. What does Santos do now in that BMW? Coming around for his final lap. He'll start it. Where is he at now? Should be up near the front straight as Cal Fortner is warming up now on the backstretch. Do I hear the BMW? I don't.
No, nor do I. That's interesting.
So where has the 82 car of Jamie Santos gone? While Cal Fortner is working up to pace here. No yellow flags or anything.
Yeah, Jamie Santos has not taken the time.
So I wonder if he had a problem potentially.
Must have.
Now, here's the good news for Jamie. Like we said, that if you don't get a completed lap, you still are scored at worst 5th in your class. You made it here. You can't fall out of it.
Exactly.
So that we'll handle that when that gets handled. But here comes Cal Fortner now in the 14, the Al's Auto Body Mercedes AMG GTS. This car from factory, very well equipped to go fast around a racetrack. And right now he's got to beat a 1:39.7. He's gone much quicker than that so far this weekend. A 37.3 was his qualifying time.
And he was the driver who was telling us, I hope it rains, because I love the rain. There is Santos really struggling.
Off pace here,
Yep.
and he's going to pull to the right as Fortner is going to come out of turn 7 with a big head of steam here. So hopefully Santos does not obstruct Fortner on the run down to turn number 8. And again, that's why Fortner will get 2 laps. But Santos definitely has something not going well for him here. And into turn 80 will go. Fortner is going to probably pop out of the screen from the bottom here in a moment.
And Fortner, in the first qualifying session, ended up with an issue where the car kept going into limp mode because it wasn't triggering into the competition setting versus the street setting. And he finally got out and got a lap that got him up into the top 5. Then he bettered it in the morning just a little bit. And he's a guy who's
wow!
Look at the sparking.
He jumped airborne there over the curb at turn number 10. Fortner is getting after it. Like I said earlier, he is the show. A little bit of counter steer there on the curbs and into turns 12 and 13 for Cal Fortner in the street modified Mercedes AMG GTS as the 82 has stopped in a safe area. So Santos will not make it back. He will not get a lap in the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint. Here comes the 14, final corner on flyer number 1, out to the edge of the curb and back to the stripe. Here comes Cal Fortner. What's it going to be for the number 14? Across the stripe, this time through.
Boom, to the top. What a lap, a 1:37.925 for Cal Fortner in his first lap. That's about a half second off of where he ran earlier. Relative, and what we're seeing from the track right now, that's a great lap.
That is a really good lap for the number 14 of Cal Fortner. He will get one more lap while he watched the number 6 of Michael Almick pick up speed and head for home and kick off his 2-lap podium sprint effort here. And the number 6 is our number 2 seed, a good second and a half off of Ryan Matthews. So the battle might be for second here with Cal Fortner. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, from what we've seen so far, Matthews has this class in terms of outright pace. He is the class of the class right now. But you never know. He has a little problem or whatever. This could be there, but at least this is for the second spot on the podium because Fortner and Amick, they were separated by next to nothing, just about a tenth and a half. And Amick, all-wheel drive, he just says, I can just climb that curb, keep her pinned here, and launches.
Right out to the edge and on the rumble strips at the exit at turn number 3. And he was a little wide out of 1, but basically just attacked the blunt end of that curb, drove right over the top of it, and straightened that line out. That might pay dividends here. The aggression he showed, that'll pay off, I think, at the end of this.
Well, when you've got that all-wheel drive, if you make a little mistake, sometimes you can just drive through it. And that was his whole mindset here. Now the question is, do we see a better lap than a 1:37.9 out of Cal Fortner?
Here comes Cal Fortner across the stripe, and is it faster? Doesn't look like it.
Oh, yeah, he did. A 1:37.4.
Wow.
So that, looking at that's better. Well, it's a tenth off of where he ran earlier. So that was a really good lap by Cal Fortner on his second run.
That's what he's got. A 1:37.4 is what Cal Fortner has. Will Almick go faster? He's really wide at turn number 11.
Yep, that's probably going to blunt it here for this lap, but he gets one more, doesn't he?
Into turns 12 and 13. This is completing his first flying lap. Fortner improved to only a tenth off of his Q2 time. Almick was not a whole lot faster, 2/10 quicker in qualifying. Last corner for Almick. He slips, drops a tire in the And there is he's like we've seen so far.
Well, and that's the key here is the...
Oh, he's locked up into one. This is what we're talking about, Greg. You can throw it away even though you were comfortable coming in.
Absolutely. A mistake, can cost you here. It's not like you've got, 15 more minutes in the session where you can go, all right, calm down, get back after it. And second lap. So this is where a racing driver, one of his best kits in the toolbox, best things in the old toolbox, is a short memory. You make a mistake, forget about it. Don't let the red mist get a hold of you. Focus, smooth things out, slow it down a little bit on entry, get the drive out, and just put it together again, and we'll see whether they're able to do that. But boy, are we seeing quite the battle here.
Here comes Matthews out of turn number 9 into 10 now. In the red C5 Corvette, tips it in. Look at the arrow to stick the car to the road. Amick, final corner, still got the blinker flashing there, but cleaner exit at turn number 11. Will it be better, or 14 rather, will it be better, and will it be enough to win in street modified? Across the stripe, it is not faster.
Nope.
So his best, a 1:37.046, is all he's got to compete with Ryan Matthews, who is now entering the final turn. Can Ryan Matthews clinch street mod victory this time through, even with a lockup down at turn 1?
Well, the pace advantage he's had, it's possible. There's no question about that. And he gets one more lap anyway. But let's see, does he do it? Does he go to the top? No. Wow, this is getting really intriguing. He's off by 1.5 seconds.
And he slipped in turn 1 again, and slipped a lot. I'm not sure if he's going to get to go much quicker than that. A 1:38.797 was all he was able to manage. He's got to find 1.5 seconds or more. While we've got our track mod group warming up here, street mod, this could be Amick's to grab.
This really could. This is a big story developing here because Matthews has generally been at 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds quicker than anybody else in the class in each of the sessions here. As that's Paul Jacques, the number 700, the Talon. And that, too, is an all-wheel drive car. But all eyes right now on Matthews to see whether the guy who has been top of the heap in the street mod category is able to bring it home once again.
This Talon is really cool looking.
Oh, that's a hot rod, isn't it?
It is. Makes great sounds, too, as he heads up to turn number 4. But where is that red Corvette coming through the last couple corners? Is he going to go quicker? I have to imagine he would.
You would
because
think.
Lap 1, it was such a missed corner at turn 1 that almost anything would be better if he could at least get that corner somewhat more right. But here he comes through 12 and 13, Greg. His weekend. He was fastest all weekend long, but it came down to the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint. Last turn for the 121 of Ryan Matthews. Is it going to slip away, or can he clinch victory? Checkered flag waves for Ryan Matthews. Will he win in street modified here at GRIDLIFE South Carolina? No.
Oh, huge story here, folks. A 1:37.6. He got within 0.6, but that just tells you, because you had a big margin at another time. If one of the drivers really puts one together and you struggle a little bit, nothing's guaranteed here.
Here comes the Talon, the number 700, working his way around now. This is your number 5 seed, Paul Jacques, in this car on the brakes here into turn 14. What's he got for track mod?
Look at the size of that, all the aero bits on that, including those little winglets just behind the rear wheels. Everything driving to give him some serious stick here. And his first lap is a 1:39.293. His best lap was a 38.3. So, and here is the 114 of Bronson McNeamer. And that is one wicked, believe me, folks, that is an MX-5.
Wow, he's slipping and sliding. Again, the drivers, working up to pace here, you know you only have 2 laps to make it count. I've never seen drivers more ragged looking in time attack competition here at GRIDLIFE than today. They know they have to lay it down, and that increases the pressure so much. The 700, by the way, a 1:39.293. That was a little bit slower than his best time, but now he's got to compete with Bronson McNeamer in an MX-5.
And listen to that MX-5 as it comes through, and look at the 8 injection stacks coming through the hood. That tells you what this car is really all about.
Huge wiggle at turn 3 and accelerating now. The 700's got a problem. Jakish's got a problem, and he was not going to make his second lap. Is he going to make it off track? Yes, he will. But a 1:39.2 is all he's going to have in this session, Greg.
All right. And kudos to him finding a safe place to pull that car over and let the session continue unabated. All of his competitors and all the fans are going to seriously appreciate that.
So we'll carry on and continue. Bronson McNeamer now heads up the back straightaway. And the next car will roll. And that sounds a whole lot like Justin Peachy in the 245.
It does sound peachy.
Another V8 Corvette.
Yep.
Look at those shots here.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. That's turn 3 up to turn 4. You see that elevation climb we've been talking about as McNeamer hits turn 11, gets up on the curb. You see the hands inside the cockpit weaving and wobbling as he tries to gather up the speed here. Through turns 12 and 13, balancing on the edge of the road, looking quick.
All of those little corrections that you're making. When you're on the edge, you're always making those little corrections, but the key word there is little. Big corrections are slow. Little corrections are how you really can flow speed. Picking the throttle up. He had more at the exit there that he could have used, but he's got another lap too, but let's see where he goes on this one.
And it will be top of the board in track mod, a 1:39.165. That's good for the lead for now, but for now is the key term there.
It is, yeah. And you look at what his time was. That's a 1:39, as you said, 1:65, and he has turned a 37.4. So there's a lot more left in it. And there is Justin Peachy's number 245 Corvette.
And we've talked about the challenges he's had this weekend. Had to drive 3 hours away to go get a transmission put in this car yesterday after having an issue. And it has held up so far.
Yep.
We'll see how it does in the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint.
And just to set the stage a little bit for you folks, Peachy was the 3rd seed, Chris Boersma the 2nd seed, and Jason Konarki the top seed. They are separated by 0.8 of a second in that qualifying. Any one of these guys can pull this one out.
Cross the line for McNeamer. Did he go quicker? Don't think so. Cross the stripe.
Nope.
He did not on lap number 2. Did he not? I don't think he's completed it just
He hasn't
yet.
completed his second lap yet.
Got a little out of order there. So here comes Justin Peachy to start his lap as McNeamer rolls around to complete his second flyer. Peachy sideways on the curbs, leaving turn 3. He's definitely getting after it in that Hawk Performance Corvette.
Ooh, little wide there. He missed the apex at 3, just a smidge, or at 4, which made him a little difficult for him to get turned into 5. Let's see what happens here for McNeamer.
Faster, 1:38.212 for Bronson McNeamer. Pads the lead a little bit on the 700 Eagle Talon, but Peachy was seated ahead of McNeamer by clear of 2 seconds. So we should see the Corvette jump to the top of the track mod stack here shortly.
Now he has been awfully stout this weekend in the 135s, mid to high 135s. So he certainly is capable. And this is, look at that. The top 5 in this category: an Eagle Talon, an MX-5 Miata, a Chevy Corvette, a Honda Civic, and a McLaren. Talk about diversity in class. That's amazing.
Pick the thing you want to run and bring it to track mod with a big old wing and maybe some other fast bits under the hood. Peachy looks a little slow here. Like he definitely has a problem.
Yeah.
I wonder if he is throwing away that lap and going for lap number 2. Maybe he's trying to warm up the tires. Certainly looks back on it now as he comes across the stripe, but he was not at full tilt coming out of turn 14 prior.
Yeah, he's way down there to 140.1, Kyle. So I think you're absolutely right. I think he realized, maybe he had a mistake somewhere and said, look, just save the tire so you could put in a really good one here.
Yeah, he's definitely back on it.
Yeah,
so
he is.
This is his one shot now. If he makes a mistake, it's over in terms of getting up onto the podium.
And you see how much better he was through there? That may have been the start of that bad lap. And now, look at that rotation.
Back on throttle now and heading down towards turn 8. Wasn't understeer that time. It was definitely oversteer. Here's Chris Boersma, by the way, number 2 seed, working up to pace on the front straightaway in his Honda Civic. His seed time was 0.3 better than Peachy, so this is going to be mighty close between these two cars. Corvette versus Civic. Is this GLTC? With a couple extra 100 horsepower.
Couple extra 100 horsepower. I'll tell you, this has to be one of the fastest Civics on the planet, man. It's impressive. But look at the speed now that Peachy is rolling. Down, got to get this turn. Nice. Up on that curb. Nary a wiggle as he came through. Little bit of an adjustment on the exit. And now, nice early turn in there into 12. Let it have its head through here. Run wide. Just keep unwinding the wheel. Keep feeding it throttle. Brake into this last turn. Nice turn in there. Doesn't look like he got it too crossed up on the exit. Let's see what happens.
Here he comes, Justin Peachy trying to beat Bronson McNeamer's time in track modified. Will he do it? Yes! Fastest time of the session, 1:35.909. Not only fastest in class, but fastest we've seen today in the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint.
Man, that was a lap, no question. So he, after that kind of sloppy first lap, he absolutely nailed it, and that puts a lot of pressure now on Chris Boersma and Jason Konarski when they come out, because they just watched Justin Peachy put in a stellar lap.
Here comes Chris Boersma in the number 33 Honda Civic, seated just a couple tenths faster than Justin Peachy at the top of the board right now. Final turn for the number 33 across the stripe. Will it be top of the board for the number 33 of Boersma? Cross the stripe. And no, P2 rather, in track mod, a 1:37.062. Will lap 2 be any better?
Yeah, it's about 1.2 seconds off where he needs to be. So
here's Jason Konarski working up to pace in the 77. This is a 720S McLaren, and I got active aero on it and everything, and slows it down for turn 14. And he is the number 1 seed in track mod here. So he was the driver, all things equal, that was supposed to win this GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint across the stripe to start his lap.
We have seen some upsets here. Yeah, he turned a 1:35 flat, essentially, as the fastest seed in qualifying. 0.6 quicker than anybody else, but we've seen some others that have been faster and not been able to pull it out here, so we'll see just what he's going to be able to do. Meanwhile, watching Boersma finishing his lap here through the kink, sparks are flying off of that big splitter on the front of the car with the winglets.
And into turn 11. Needs to find some speed if he wants to go home victorious in this number 33. K-tuned on the side. Boersma behind the wheel using downforce here. This car's got all the tricks. It's got a lot of power, but it relies on some of this aero to help stick it to the road. As he works through 13 and heads to 14 and heads for home. This is his last opportunity to improve and his last chance to win here at Carolina Motorsports Park. Straight away, here he comes, Greg.
That was a nice launch out of that last turn. He's got to better his 37 flat, but he's got to better a 35.9. Is he going to do it? No. Jumps to second at a 1:36.4, but still half second off of Justin Peachy.
So Peachy was able to leapfrog Boersma here in the podium sprint session. And with that, Konarski, the last driver left in track mod. Here he comes. You just hear turbo sounds.
Just whistle. Yeah.
Just whistling.
It's amazing. And the one thing that may have affected Boersma here, that car is not as heavy as the Corvette, and it's much more aero-dependent than the Corvette. And this gusting winds, he could have really been fighting that car, having it move him around a lot.
Konarski second on his first lap. And it's close. It's a 36.4 to a 35.9. Needs to find half a second here on this final lap if he wants to leave top of the board. What if Peachy could steal this one here in the podium sprint?
No, that would be amazing, as Barry Pettit now out in his BMW M3 in the unlimited category, the number 32. But the story right now is Jason Konarski in that 720S McLaren working his final lap.
through the final lap here. Kanakri heading down towards turn 8 at speed. Where is he? Coming out of turn 8 and heading for home. This is going to be interesting here. Half a second. I think Kanakri can find it.
He's capable.
Waiting for, it's the anticipation. Here he comes.
Yeah.
150 plus easily in this car on this back straight. Watch the rear wing pop up here. Right, just a little lift there, and then watch the brakes. This rear wing's going to stand up and act like an air brake, like an F-16.
Yep.
Slow the thing down in the air. Turn it in a little bit wide there, but it was tidy.
It was tidy, a little bit longer line, but it wasn't bad, absolutely. And that rear wing, yeah, it helps slow the car, and it helps jam the back of the car down. And, smart of him to recognize that going into that kink, to give it that little breathe just for a second, hit the wing to kick up to plant the back. That's pretty savvy. Now, last time through, can he rebound? He needs to find about 0.6 of a second.
Jason Kanakri, final corner in the McLaren 720S. Can he go to the top of the board and win in track modified? Here he comes. Yes!
Yes!
134, 485, and he does it not only by a little bit, but by a second and a half. How did he do that?
I know, and that's 0.6 faster than he ran in qualifying. He just obliterated his own track record.
It wasn't even close.
No, man. Watching how he was driving that, using that wing on the back, really savvy what we just saw him do out there.
That was unbelievable. Jason Kanakri will go home with a trophy in track modern. Here comes the 32 car now. This, as you mentioned before, Barry Pettit in Unlimited, the number 5 seed here in this BMW M3. And he's a good 14 seconds off of the number 1 seed here, but it's going to be pretty spicy back here for 5th, 4th, and 3rd between Briggs, Ruger, and Pettit here. So we'll see what he's got in the tank on this lap in this M3 car.
And compared to some of the other Unlimited cars out here, he just doesn't have as much of the power and as much of the aero on the car, but it does not fit in track mod, so that's why it has to run in Unlimited. And the fact that he hauled himself up into the top 5 is just impressive on its own, with a car that just isn't quite as heavily modified as some of the others. So kudos to Barry Pettit wherever he ends up here. Top 5 and making it to the Podium sprint rounds. First time out, not too bad.
48.4 for Pettit on the first lap out for him. Next up is going to be John Ruger, who's in Unlimited all-wheel drive with this Audi TCR car. And this is a factory race car, essentially, here. It does have a VIN number, so it's legal in Unlimited. That's the one difference between Unlimited and the Super Unlimited category, which is basically almost no rules at all. Unlimited, you have to have a VIN number stamped on the car somewhere. This car has that. But this is about as race car as you can get.
Yeah, I mean, this is designed right out of the Audi factory, built for competition, and really stout performance in these cars, and a lot more aero in these cars than you think. They really work well through the air. They don't have massive horsepower compared to some of the other cars, but they stick to the ground as we continue to watch here. Barry Pettit way wide.
Yeah. The front end just pushed heavily there. Had it turned in. In this track, in areas, it's pretty flat, so you can see the steering input not matching the direction the car is going, and you can just feel the scrub and the vibration from the car not wanting to rotate. So Pettit's going to work his way around, but 48.3 or 48.4 might be all this car has in it.
Yep.
He's certainly giving it all he's got, though.
He's pushing as hard as he possibly can. And, yeah, you get into a push situation like that where the car doesn't want a turn, the tires let you know. They really protest and, let you know here. But now, watching 56, John Ruger.
Nicely done at 11.
Yep.
He had that pretty well sorted. And then 12 and 13. This car right out to the edge of the road. Left a little bit of margin there, though. Slightly different line, kind of middle track. And Pettit did improve to a 46.2, so he picked up 2 full seconds on his second lap.
That's a great lap by Pettit, considering the car he's got there. He really wheeled it beautifully.
And across the stripe, here he comes. Ruger, will he go faster than Pettit? Needs a 46.2 to do it. Across the stripe, yes. And he goes to a 143.2, I believe. That was an exceptional lap. We'll put him ahead at 143.218 for John Ruger. And next up is going to be Josh Briggs. Here he is. And this is actually Jeremy Lauder in the 25 car. This is our number 2 seed in his Camaro ZL1 1LE. So not exactly sure where Josh Briggs is on course. Maybe he didn't make a run for it.
He had a problem. This thing is a beast. You see it sitting still in the paddock, and it just, in your head you're hearing that engine. It's a beast, and it's cool.
Look, the Camaro ZL1 is really, really well suited.
Yep.
The 32 working his way back around. But the Camaro into turn number 1. Now he heads up between the turns 2 and 3. And his seed time was a 1:38.617. Nice and tidy through the first couple of corners. And there's the 56 of John Ruger working his way around on his second lap to complete lap number 2. And Ruger, all he needs to do is he needs to pick up 4/10. Well, actually, because Briggs isn't out here yet, that means that he would automatically be on the podium.
Yes.
So he can just bring it home. But if Briggs were to get out on course, then he would have to make sure he's got a good lap in. Left a lot of margin there at the exit of turn 14, but here comes Ruger back to the stripe of the Audi RS3 TCR. And let's see what it is for Ruger. Yes, a 1:41.878, fast enough to keep first in the unlimited category so far. But where's that Camaro? Look at it, into turn 11 on the brakes. Pretty tidy, Greg.
Not bad, not bad. From that angle, it's tough to see if he got it back down at the apex on the exit and just used a little wider arc and then had that late exit. Looks like he got into turn 12 very nicely.
And up to speed now towards turn 14 on the brakes. And his seat time was well clear of those that we were just watching. But who knows? We've seen some upsets so far today.
Yep.
It's Jeremy Lauder across the stripe in the number 25 Chevrolet Camaro. And it is good enough for a 1:40.062. Takes him to the top in unlimited.
Nice lap. And it looked to me like he had turned in a little early for 14 and then didn't use any of that curb on the exit on top of it. And if he opens that arc up a little bit, that's going to help him just a little bit, as Eric Fleming is out in that beautiful Corvette. And he was on top by a ton in this category. And if he just repeats close to what he was doing in qualifying, he should get it here. But we have seen one big mistake, and it can change everything.
Yeah, he was well clear, so his goal is just to do what he did earlier. Eric Fleming in the 830 takes the green flag. He is our last competitor in the GridLife NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint. This is the last car to go over the curbs at turn 1. A little bit of kick out, but actually really nice line leading into turn 2.
Yep. He's got this track figured out, uses that curb a little bit in 3, uses all of the curb on the exit, and it looks like Lauder has backed out of it. He may have some sort of an issue here.
Yep, well, not going to go much faster than that. And he is leading right now in unlimited, but Fleming might make that short-lived in that Chevrolet Corvette C6 generation car. We've talked about C8s and C7s, C5s even in our street modified class, but in unlimited, C6 today. And here he comes. Now he's going to be on the back straightaway shortly, entering turn 10. And here he is. Look at the speed. It just looks fast from a distance.
Oh, and it eats the track up here. Turns in here, just nicks that little tiny curb. Make sure he doesn't hit it too hard at those speeds. It can throw you off track. Nice rotation. He has got this car just dialed.
The 830 car, final couple corners of our GridLife NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint, looking for a track record. He set it himself earlier at a 1:30.623. Can he reset the track record? That's really what he's going for. He should be well clear of everyone else in this category. But setting and being the benchmark for every future unlimited class competitor, here comes Fleming across the stripe. And to the top of the board, yes, at a 1:31.7. But it is not the fastest lap we've seen today, not as fast as his Q2 time from earlier.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure he knows that lap was good enough because it was clean, and he knew if he drove a clean lap with the margin he had on the field, he was probably going to be there, but he doesn't know if he broke his own record, and I think it's going to be interesting to see if he just stays out and just says, let's go for it.
Why not?
I would.
Why not? You get 2 laps, you might as well use them.
You could beat demand.
And, you know, it's amazing how little time it takes for him to get from out of our view back into our view. That's a big sector of racetrack. That's a mile and a half or so from when they leave our perspective back to when they are back in shot at turn number 8. Here he comes. Entering turn 10. Last lap of the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Podium Sprint. He's still getting on it.
Yeah, he is. All right. Does he repeat? Nice. That was just excellent again. I mentioned that he's got this car working well, but he is extracting everything out of it. Just doing some absolutely brilliant driving. Look at that. You know, we've seen other cars in that big high horsepower category that aren't willing to get up on that outside edge like that, and he just took it there right to the edge of the track.
Fastest car here this weekend. Final corner for Eric Fleming, and the final corner for the GRIDLIFE NOS Energy Track Battle Championship Podium Sprint. Fleming across the stripe, and it is not faster that time through, but doesn't matter. He wins. He's the fastest car at GRIDLIFE South Carolina, and with that, we complete the first ever Podium Sprint here at a GRIDLIFE event, Greg. A different spectacle and a very fun one to watch.
Oh, this was an absolute blast. I mean, this new era, and with the new partner in NOS Energy Track Battle Championship here, and this new format, I'll tell you, this is really, really intriguing stuff. And I think it's a different challenge for the drivers. It's still about outright speed, and that's what time attack style stuff is. But it's a little different format that adds some strategy, some pressure, and certainly a ton of entertainment for anybody that's watching.
Before we summarize everything for you, don't leave the fence, because the next great spectacle, GRIDLIFE Touring Cup's Race 4, is in just a couple of minutes' time. We've inverted 9 for the start of that race. So if you want to watch 40 touring cars going door to door, stay by the fences, stay on the broadcast here. In terms of your winners here on the graphics, Fleming, Lauder, Ruger, Pettit, your top 4 in Unlimited. Kanakri wins in track modified, Amick in street mod, and then looking down towards the bottom, it was Abbott in Sunday Cup, Mulroney in Falcon Club TR, and as far as the street GT category went, Brandon Hodge got it done, and then Josh Halka in street class. Those are your winners, Greg. Podium Sprint for the first time ever.
Just spectacular. Fun to be a part of it. Looking forward to the rest of the season. This is a show.
A great show indeed. GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 4 is up next. We'll see you on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
Choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Zenith RT660.
Owning a car can be expensive. It can also be confusing. What? And when things don't go right, there's no doubt it could be frustrating. But it can also be a lot of fun. And for those reasons, FCP Euro exists. Check this out. Do you and your car a favor and head over to fcpro.com to learn more.
Did you energize yet today? Time to NOS up. Get after it.
Hi, I'm Chris Forsberg, and when it comes to classics and high-performance cars, I only trust America's #1 racing oil, Valvoline VR1. It's built on Valvoline's long legacy in racing, so I can continue to build my own. With 2 times more zinc than the industry standard, VR1's high-performance formula is tested on the track and trusted on the road to ensure your engine is protected from metal-to-metal contact. And I use it so much, I haven't got my car on the bottle. That's why whether I'm racing or cruising, I protect everything I drive with Valvoline. Valvoline, trusted for over 150 years.